Hi, welcome to Tag Arcade. In today's tutorial, we are going to be talking about data types. So what are data types? Well, data types are just an object used to store like numbers, letters, things like that. So I'm going to be talking about the most commonly used data types in programming. If you like this tutorial, go to my website, tagarcade.com, and click on this nice little button on the top right hand corner. So let's go ahead and open Unity, and once it's open, we are going to create a brand new project. So we're going to say new, and once the page opens up, we are going to call this data type. So I'm going to highlight everything, say data type, and hit create project. Okay, so let's see. Do I want to update Unity? No, not yet. Maybe after this tutorial. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new script, a C# script. I'm going to call this data types. Next, I'm going to create a brand new game object to run my script. So I'm going to say empty object, and I'm going to call this, I don't know, C#. Yeah, I'll call it C. Well, no, I'll call it scripts. And now I'm going to drag my data type script into here. So if I click on my scripts and look at my inspector, I see the data type script has been applied. So let's go ahead and double click, open it up, and begin coding. So the first thing I'm going to do once the script opens is just to make sure that our script is indeed running properly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into our start function, and it's a regular debug.log parentheses, quotes, hello world. Okay, I'm going to do file, save, and now when I run my program, I should get hello world. But where did it go? Well, hello world actually appears here on the bottom left hand corner. And if you click on it once, the console window should open up. And we can see our output, hello world. Another way of getting there is if I close my console window, I could go to Windows and Console all the way at the bottom. Okay, now that we have that squared away, let's go ahead and take our Unity window. I'm going to shrink it down a little bit because we're going to be mostly working with the console window in this tutorial. So I am going to make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so let's get back to our scripts. So the first commonly used data type that we're going to use is going to be an int. So what exactly is an int? An int is pretty much any whole number. So if you have like a decimal number, it won't fit in the int. So any whole number. So we'll call this variable int, I don't know, player energy level. Okay, so in order to declare an int, you have to type in int, and the name that follows afterwards is a name that you could choose. So please pick a name that is representative of what sort of data you're holding. So it could be player energy level. You could say int, I don't know, what is this good int? Player lives, like how many lives the player has, so on and so forth. Okay, so once we have our data type, we could say player energy level equals 100. And now we want to put that up into the screen. So I'm going to say debug.log player, without the quotes, player energy levels. So the only time you put the quotes is if you want to output the text exactly as you wrote it. Otherwise, if it's a variable like here, you're creating a variable, in this case an int, and assigning it to a number, then you don't use the quotes. So we hit play, we get, oops, sorry, we're not going to play on the script, we're going to play in Unity, and we have 100. So when you start coding and we start using the debug window, 100 may not be meaningful, or you may not know what 100 means. So let's put a more descriptive message in here in our debug window. So let me go here, let me close all these things that we don't want. Okay. We are going to, yeah, why not? We'll just delete this line, get rid of that error message. And we are going to say player energy level in quotes plus player energy level. So this will output the word player energy level and will include the energy level of the player, in this case 100. File save, and when we hit play in Unity, it will say player energy level 100. So what happens if we try to put like a decimal point number? Let's say the player got hurt and the energy level is at 87.6772 or 8. Okay, so let's see. We're going to hit save. We're going to hit play. Well, let's stop the old one from playing. But already at the bottom, we already have an error message. We cannot implicitly convert the data type double to an int. So already, Unity scripting language is going to let you know that you did something wrong. So you could force this to happen by what is called typecasting. So what typecasting means is you're going to convert a decimal point number into a whole number. So in order to do that, you just have to put in parentheses what you want to convert the data into. So since I want to convert a whole number into, since I want to convert a decimal number into a whole number, I'm going to say parentheses, int, close parentheses. So what happens when you convert a decimal number into a whole number? Well, everything past the decimal point will be deleted. So the only thing that I'm going to have in my variable is 87. So if we hit save and go ahead and hit play, we should now see energy level 87. And yes, we do. Energy level 87. Okay, so what happens if we need to have a decimal number? Well, in order to store a decimal number, we actually have to use the word float. So float represents a decimal number. So I'm going to say float, and we'll call this CPU energy level. And, well, actually, we'll declare it a little bit different. We'll say right off the bat, our energy level is going to be 87.668. Hit save. Well, actually, before we go back into Unity, we are going to put a debug log. We're going to change this to CPU energy level, and we'll show our CPU energy level. And I forgot my semicolon. So CPU energy level, in quotes, plus CPU energy level. File save. Let's go back to our back to Unity. And already we also have an error message. So by default, when you create a variable, it's called a double. But most likely I use float because floats take up less memory. So to convert a double into a float, you could just put an F at the end of the number. So let's go ahead and hit play. And we have our CPU energy level at 87.6778. Okay. So another way we could convert it is we could get rid of the f at the end and just say parentheses, float, close parentheses. That also works. Now, the third commonly used data types that I've used is called a Boolean. So what is a Boolean? A Boolean is pretty much anything that has either a true or a false. And that's all it can do. Just yes or no, true or false. So why would we ever use something that only holds yes or no, true or false? Well, one reason is we could create a Boolean. So is the game paused? So we need to find out if the player has paused the game by either pressing start or resuming the game by pressing start again. So we need to be able to determine whether the game is paused or not. So we'll create a Boolean, is the game paused? And for now, when we start a game, we'll always say, is the game paused equals false. Oops, one too many semicolons. Okay, so we're going to say debug.log. And we're going to say pause status plus is the game paused. File, save. And if we go and play to run our script, we'll say, it says pause status false. Wonderful. So what happens if we wanted to make it true? Or to say yes, that the game is paused? Well, we could always say, is the game paused equals true. And I'll copy this script to the line below. File, save. And let's go ahead and run it again. So, yep, when we started the game is unpaused, so false. And then when the player hits start, he went ahead and made this condition true, so the game will pause. And lastly, the fourth common data type that we're going to use is called string. So what exactly is a string? A string is a container to hold words or sentences. So what might you put on a string? Well, I usually do a string if I want to display something to the user, to the player, actually. So one of the message can be, you have obtained a new high score. Yay! Okay, and we are going to say debug.log. Let's see, debug.log message. That should be good enough. Hit save. And now if we run our script, we should get, you have a new high score, yay! Yeah, you have obtained a new high score. Okay, and there you have it. Those are the most commonly used data types in programming. There are a whole bunch more data types, so once you get familiar with programming, you could branch out to use everything else. So to learn about all the other different data types, you could do a Google search. So you could just say data types and say C# since we are coding in C#. And I guess the very first Google search is a good answer. And we have all these things, Boolean, byte, char, decimal, so on and so forth. You get to see what they represent. So like a byte represents a number from 0 to 255. And yeah, all the other things. So the only reason to use all these other variables is for memory usage. So for example, a byte takes 8-bit of memory usage, and a float takes more than that, 32 bits of memory usage. But yeah, if you're new to coding, definitely go ahead and stick to these data types. If you like what you see, like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And until next time, have fun and keep on creating games. Bye.